Hello viewers and welcome to 90 Minutes in Africa with me, Tah Mai Javis, sitting in for Bull Elvis. To kickstart today's program, let me give you a rundown as to what we have as what is making news across the continent. First, we'll take you to South Africa, where the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has paid a visit to the affected regions, that is the KwaZulu-Natal province and also to the Ngwa province, where he is taking stock as far as the ongoing protest is concerned, to look at what is left about the looting within KwaZulu-Natal, and also he's also there to look at the different groups agitating as far as the pro-Zuma supporters are concerned. Earlier, he did announce that instigators of this ongoing protest will be brought to book, and that 12 persons have been identified and one was arrested on Thursday. Ramaphosa is also looking for a way in which he can bring peace into the restive regions of South Africa. And also we take you to the Confederation of African Football, CAF, which is backing the proposal made by Saudi Arabia that the world biggest jamboree, that is World Cup, should be played once in after 2 years, that every after 2 years the football competition should effectively kickstart in such a way that Africa will have a place for the World Cup competition. And we now take you to Nigeria, where dust is yet to settle with the arrest of Namdi Kanu, who was arrested last week by Kenyan police and deported to Nigeria. And many Nigerians are asking whether Namdi Kanu will be granted the legal proceedings as it ought to be, taking into consideration that he was arrested and later flee away from the country. And these are the news-making headlines in Africa, and we kickstart the program with 90 Minutes in Africa, introducing to you my guest. In the studio we have Apostle Ambe Valentine, who is also a consultant of my media prime. Apostle Ambe Valentine, a privilege to have you.
Good afternoon, Jarvis. Good afternoon, Africans. Good afternoon, viewers of 90 Minutes in Africa. It's always a joy and a privilege to be here to communicate our own quarter of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to the viewers of this particular program. We are here to talk Africa, and Africans, be attentive and stay glued to your screen.
Dr. Michael Ndimancho, who is also here with us, a Pan-Africanist. Dr. Michael Ndimancho, a privilege to have you.
Thanks so much, Jarvis. It's a pleasure to be here talking Africa. And is it Africa for Africans, or those are some of the issues, big question that sometimes we contemplate. Whether we are talking Africa, who is talking? Are we Africans talking? And who are we talking for? Are we talking for Africa? I think that is a very, very important thing to contemplate on. Thank you once more for inviting me, and I think that issues touching on Africa are usually very sensitive issues, because sometimes most of us become mulattoes, cultural mulattoes. We don't know where we stand on. We don't know where we're talking for Africa or we're talking for the West. But I think that my media prime on this very, very important program, 90 Minutes in Africa, should actually be able to retell the minds of Africans to think first Africa.
Here in the studio we also have Amadou Tante, who is joining us for the first time. Amadou, you're welcome to the program.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you very much for this privilege. It's really a pleasure for me to be a guest on one of the guests on your program today.
And also we have Ndiwum Emmanuel, someone who is a staunch critic as far as issues plaguing Africa is concerned, when it is not being done the way it should be done. Ndiwum Emmanuel, a privilege to have you.
Thank you very much, Tah Mai Javis. Greetings to Lesotho, greetings to Cairo, greetings to Bujumbura, Abidjan, and Yaoundé. Today we'll be discussing Africa and Africa for Africans.
Thank you very much. These are the gentlemen with whom we are going to ride on for 90 minutes in Africa. We'll take on a brief transition. When we come back, we will set the ball rolling. President Jacob Zuma was sentenced to 15 months in prison for refusing to collaborate with investigators in an ongoing charges of corruption and misuse of state funds by the president at the time when he was member of the government and when he was the country's chief spy during the period of apartheid. Jacob Zuma is also being locked up at KwaZulu-Natal province, which is one of the hotspots of the ongoing crisis in South Africa. I'll begin with you, Apostle Ambe Valentine. Before then, I want us to listen to a brief from the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, his analysis as of the event that is plaguing in South Africa.
Fellow South Africans, good evening. Ndimadekwana, Abshen, Sanbonani, Dumelang, Kaufela, Huyenant. Ngibingelela nonke abantu baseMzansi Afrika ngenhliziyo ebuhlungu. Ngilidumela kaufela kapilo ebuhlungu. Ngilidumela batho bote ba-Afrika Chipembe kambilu ibabao. I address you this evening, South Africans, with a heavy heart. Over the past few days and nights, there have been acts of public violence of a kind rarely seen in the history of our democracy. Property has been vandalized and destroyed. Shops have been looted. Law-abiding citizens have been threatened and intimidated. Workers are scared that they may not be able to return to work. People have died. At this hour, there are several families in our country that are in deep mourning. I speak of the families of Nkosikona Chiza, Ndumiso Shezi, Kaya Mkize, Zitembe Ndwandwe, Lindani Pengu, and Lindokuhle Kumete in Gauteng. I also speak of the families of Bekani Ndlovu, Themba Mthembu, Aphiwe Gama, and Cebo Dlamini in KwaZulu-Natal. Even as we know the high costs of this violence to property, to livelihoods, and to businesses, the loss of human life is the greatest cost of all. As a nation, our thoughts and prayers are with these families that have lost their loved ones. Many South Africans are at this hour counting the cost to their livelihoods and property. They are counting their cost to their shops and businesses that have been destroyed and burnt down. And they're also counting their cost to the safety and security of themselves as South Africans. Many more South Africans are feeling anxious and afraid tonight. Parts of the country are reeling from days and nights of public violence, destruction of property, and looting of the sort rarely seen before in the history of our democracy. Lokhu okwenzekayo manje singakakuboni dintho tse ntse di etsahala ke kgale re sa di bone mo democracy e ya rona. It started with the burning of trucks.
Okay, Apostle Ambe, Valentine, I want you to react to President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Well, Javis, what is happening in South Africa is actually a pity because, like I always say, when mines have failed, guns, looting, stealing, barbarism, and killing and mayhem becomes the order of the day. What is happening to South Africa is a complete failure of leadership. I can say it boldly, and I'm sure President Cyril Ramaphosa is watching me right now, wherever he may be. Is a complete failure of leadership. I want to begin by saying that there are persons who have laid down their lives as far as South Africa is concerned, beginning from the time of apartheid, and no amount of money, no amount of money can pay back what those guys have sacrificed. A man like Zuma is one of the persons who led pressure groups in South Africa and what they call Umkhonto Weziwe. It's a pressure group that Zuma led in his days to fight against the apartheid regime. The likes of Oliver Tambo, Thabo Mbeki, Nelson Madiba Mandela, and many of them were the core fighters against the apartheid regime from 1986 under Frederick de Klerk. If today the government of South Africa is tolerating the court to sentence Zuma to 15 years in prison, 15 months, I beg your pardon, imprisonment, it is seriously a concern to the leadership of South Africa, especially the ANC party. Zuma for sure had a lot of scandals when before he came to power, because he came to power in 2009 and left in 2018. From 2005 he had a scandal of $1 billion arms deal which was waived. Later on, another scandal of him raping a young girl, family friend. They waived it. When he came to power, all those things were mellowed down. Zuma ruled South Africa for 9 consecutive years, and it was the ANC party that forced him to come out. When Mandela took power, people like Thabo Mbeki, Mandela, they sent people like Zuma to go and control the royal areas. Zuma were not given opportunity to enjoy the goodies. And then suddenly from nowhere, Zuma is raised to power with the sacrifice he has put in South Africa. I am sure the president was supposed to have reasoned that these are the men who almost laid down their lives. Because Zuma testified that there was a certain member of the ANC party who was supposed to be annihilated with the entire family. When the whites came and pointed their gun, the general asked how many persons are in the house. They said the man is there with his entire family. And they said because he's there with the family, they will not shoot. Zuma said, who first of all revealed the fact that the man was in the house? There are stories to be told. How can ANC members connive with the white in South Africa to send a man like Zuma to 15 months imprisonment? Look at the casualties. Look at the damages that have ensued as a result of that singular act. We are talking about 200 persons dead around Durban.
As of now, it's 212.
212 persons dead in Durban. We are talking about shops, factories, and trucks that have been burnt down.
With over 2,000 arrested.
With over 2,000 persons arrested. Is that not a kind of restoration of the apartheid back into South Africa? You know, people like Thabo Mbeki resigned. He was not removed out of power for the sake of peace. You know what Mandela did? They had to heal a lot of wounds and waive a lot of grudges and bitterness, because when Mandela came out of power, the Zulu people thought it as an opportunity for them to revenge. People like Mandela and Thabo Mbeki, they quelled down such tension and retaliation. Sacrifice was put in place and convinced them that every South African is important. It was necessary enough for Ramaphosa to have thought that men like Zuma, who fought in, because I will say Ramaphosa and Paul just came into this movement. The bedrock of the apartheid movement are people like Thabo Mbeki, Oliver Tambo, Nelson Mandela, Jacob Zuma. Those are the people.
And you know, Apostle, some people will argue that the law is a law.
No.
That when a law is breached, it should go through the legal process, then a presidential pardon can follow suit. As of now, he's still facing his major charges. He's yet to be sentenced for his major charges.
Javis, Zuma handed himself. When you see mobs gather only because they threaten to arrest a former president, it's a sign. When you go to, or you are driving a car and you reach the traffic light, when you see red projecting itself, it's a sign there is danger. The mob that gathered in front of Zuma's house prior to his arrest was enough signal to the government to understand that touching this man will cause a lot of problems. And it was Zuma who sneaked himself among the mob to officially hand himself. That was enough for them to have understood that Zuma is not willing to escape. Granted, he embezzled. Granted, he had contempt in court. Granted, he had corruption. But what are the consequences of locking Zuma as compared to what he has done? What law are they following in South Africa that they have not followed on Frederick Leclerc? Leclerc was sponsored apartheid in South Africa. Who jailed him? The amount of souls that died within the South African regime by the white minority dominion. I'm asking now, who has locked all those white people who took almost about how many thousand lives? Then they are talking about a man who embezzled cash and did not kill human beings. What is money compared to the souls of human beings? The South Africans should have a rethink. And those South African ANC members who also contributed to send Zuma to prison, you people are playing a very dangerous game. Zuma has not called for any insurrection. It is the people who know who is their leader they are fighting.
Okay.
Let them be very careful because the journey will not be too good.
Thank you very much. Let me come to you, Ndiwum. Jacob Zuma was the chief spy of the party of ANC during the period of apartheid, and within and without, he was like the person coordinating the Central Intelligence Agency. Now he is sentenced to 15 months in prison. The people of KwaZulu-Natal province, Ngwa province in Durban, they've taken to the streets, and within that we have armed men protesting and looting and the rest. What lessons can we learn from these as Africans? Is it not time for us to redefine our role in leadership and also in the legal process for those who have fought hard for our liberation?
Well, Mr. Javis, if I were to go by the saying that nobody is above the laws of every land, once the laws are already drafted and put in place, I would rather see it from a different perspective there, not from the perspective of apostle. It's quite regrettable what is happening in South Africa, but the law remains the law. I think the rule of justice in South Africa is speaking to the whole of Africa. It is speaking to the whole of Africa, and particularly to the French-speaking countries, whom they think that their leaders are untouchable when they cause insurrection, when they kill human beings to stay in power for eternity. You see, people like Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, and the rest fought for the South Africa that we are seeing. And at one point in time, it's like I'm tempted to think that the hand of the white man is still very much active in South Africa, because if you look at what is transpiring in South Africa now, you discover that the South Africans are more against themselves than the whites who are still in that country, especially in the domain of this looting and the chaos that have taken South Africa hostage. But then I want to think that even if Zuma is to be granted clemency, I want to stand by the law, the rule of the law. We don't pardon a criminal because yesterday he was a reverend. If you were a reverend yesterday and today you become a criminal that you can embed. You know, what has killed Africa generally is that with the impotent institutions that we have, there is this belief that presidents should be untouchable. That is why you when you look at countries like Gabon, our nearest neighbor, there are a lot of things going wrong there. The president has not been touched. When you look at Côte d'Ivoire, you look at Senegal, and why not look at the context of Cameroon per se? A lot of things have been going wrong. But since we think that we consider our presidents to be demigods, that is what has put Africa where we are today.
You are saying that
South Africa, the rule of law in South Africa has to prevail first. Even if Zuma has to be given some considerations, the rule of law has spoken, and it is not speaking only to South Africa.
you are saying that the rule of law should be maintained. Zuma is facing a charge of 2000 and between the period of 2005 and that period where they were a post-apartheid period where they just came out from apartheid, that he signed a deal with a French company or an armed deal that he's being paid, he will be given a certain commission. Zuma, from the from the start of this investigation, stated that there are issues he cannot reveal because at that point in time the ANC was very active in the liberation of South Africa, and as a chief spy at the time, we all know that there are some covert deals that have been done by a state for liberation, and he has called it a witch hunt, that this is something that is being instigated by people within the ANC party to bring him down, and at this point in time he still maintains his innocence. He is charged for contempt and not is jailed for contempt and not for the main charge. The main charge is still ongoing, and that he submitted himself, which was to his legal team, said they had appealed the decision for the church contempt, that the law was supposed to be applied after the appeal must have been followed, that it is his right is being violated.
Javis, I'm sure that it is on this platform that I cited the example of Zuma as a humble thief. Yes, as somebody who has stolen and has been honest enough, polite enough to say, yes, I stole, pardon me, I'm ready to give back what I stole. It was on this platform. Now remember that even the charges that he's charged for now, the title corruption is still being taken as the main, almost the main topic, before the topic of the spy or what he has done. It is true that it could be witch hunting. It is true that he could still be using that as a defense. But the lesson, like you asked a question about the lesson I would have loved that we should learn there is that we should learn that Africa, the rule of justice in Africa, managed by Africans, can be better than exporting our leaders all the time to be judged at the Hague.
Okay, so
that's the first lesson I think Africans should be drawn from there. Whatsoever surrounds the keeping of or the sentencing of Zuma, the first lesson is that African leaders should know that they are not above the law, and that African justice system should learn from this example, that we can solve our problems in Africa without usually exporting our leaders to be judged and humiliated out of Africa, like the case of Côte d'Ivoire.
You remember that he's not facing but war crime, he's facing the charges of corruption.
No, but you are the one asking me that there was a spy. When you are spying,
there is no charge on chief spy. I'm just saying that was the role he played during the period of apartheid, a chief spy of ANC.
Yes.
And during apartheid and after apartheid, and the charges that is coming in is a charge of arm between the period of 2005. The post-apartheid, because apartheid ended within 1995, 94, 95, during that period. So 6 years after, the country was still struggling with the remnants of the insurgency, and Zuma was struggling to maintain. And you listen to Apostle that Zuma had to queer down some of those hot spots, and so he said some of these charges are politically motivated.
Yes, no politician is a saint. No politician is a saint. I want to tell you, Javis, that we are not the judges in South Africa here, and we are analyzing from a distance. We might not be able to place a finger on the first-hand information of what would have transpired there.
Okay.
And you listen, you need to know that there is something in politics. Politicians usually excel by selling their lies. Zuma cannot tell you exactly the role that he played as a spy at that time, especially when we are talking and linking to the use of arms. Tah Mai Javis.
Okay. Mr. Amadou, you want to react to that?
Okay, yes, I would like to react with regard to the issue of a 15-month sentence for former President Jacob Zuma. I was really very disappointed when I learned the president on the speech, instead of trying to talk of an issue of what has happened already, because I was expecting that the first thing which was going to come out from the mouth of the president would be the issue of clemency, to make sure that he grants clemency to Mr. Zuma, which is very necessary at this particular moment in time. Because it's just a sign of fair leadership. I believe that normally if the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, was reasonable, he ought to have do everything possible to make sure that the man is released and is granted the clemency to quell down what is happening. Because Zuma, as a public figure and a former president, he has his followers, and these followers will always make sure that they do everything possible to protect their leader, no matter whatsoever they are doing to them. That thing was not. It's very unacceptable for President Cyril Ramaphosa to do such a thing. Secondly, I will talk with regards of the judiciary. It's true that the law is the law, but the judiciary, the judiciary in South Africa, the constitutional court, never did a good job. It is true that the law is a law, but normally the law says that for a judge to pass to render a judgment, he may make sure that he applied the law and his conscience. Applying the law and his conscience means that if the judge deem it necessary that a particular situation at hand on a particular time or for a particular person might lead to something, that because normally the law is there to guarantee security and peace in a country. So if the judge deem it that sentencing this man or sending this man to prison might cause problem, it's very reasonable for the judge to apply that his conscience and keep the law aside and do such thing for the peace of the nation, because the peace of the nation is the most important thing that we need here at this particular moment. And the next point here, I will try to talk equally on the President Jacob Zuma. What Jacob Zuma did was not a good example as a leader. Normally, we believe that a good leader should lead with example. When you are a leader, I believe that he was first of all supposed to present himself before the commission in charge of inquiry to answer the question that was expected from him. Because when he abstained from going there, he's giving a bad impression to the other South Africans who are like following him, giving them the impression that maybe the law is not there or they don't have to respect the law, because it is a law that he was going to go and answer to the law, and we have responsibilities as well as rights as a citizen. Jacob Zuma is a citizen like any other citizen, though for a former head of state. He's supposed to be a responsible citizen and make sure that he respects the law by answering to the question that was going to the commission to answer the question that were expected from him for the inquiry.
Okay. Dr. Michael Ndimancho, many people are stating that the law is a law, that the law ought to be respected. If we look at this scenario where Zuma, who was the chief spy of ANC between the period of apartheid and after the period of apartheid, being charged with the post-apartheid armed deal of corruption and also jailed with contempt, not for his main charge. It means that there's a possibility that more jail terms await him after the legal proceedings must have come to an end. With just 15 months, we are seeing what is happening in South Africa. What if a maximum sentence is given for corruption and misuse of state funds after these 15 months? What will become of South Africa?
I think, somebody said if a banana is to get ripe, it will, even if you put it in water. If we want to look back the issue of South Africa, we get back to the issue of apartheid to Mandela. When Mandela came out of prison, you remember what happened. I said this sometimes, and I received threats on my phone. And I said, Mandela is not my hero. And people were like, this is somebody who is celebrated the whole world. How can I say that? And I gave my explanation. You cannot give people a political independence and refuse them economic independence. And that is what Mandela gave to South Africa. He gave South Africans political independence and refused them economic independence. That is why we have had series of things coming up in South Africa. The issue of xenophobia, the issue of tribalism, of course, which is general in Africa. But xenophobia particularly is the outcome or is a failure of that economic independence that South Africans needed that Mandela refused to give them. Now, leaving that aside, you realize that the sitting president, Cyril Ramaphosa, was one of the fighters of who fought with Mandela, and he thought after Thabo Mbeki, it was actually his place, because he was like, that line was supposed to be followed. But then Zuma played his game. I mean, it's a political game that any person will play, and came up. And there, Cyril Ramaphosa, let me tell you, has been nursing a lot of grudges against Zuma. This is what people should know. Now, that was not all. When Zuma was to get out of office, something happened. His ex-wife, Nkosazana Zuma, was vying for the post of the presidency, and Zuma was supporting the candidacy of Nkosazana Zuma. That angered Cyril Ramaphosa and all the fighters of apartheid, and they said it was not actually, they were not supposed to jump people like Cyril Ramaphosa to be going in.
So he brought in a divided ANC party.
Exactly, and that is why that wrangling in the ANC party came up, and these are the fallout of what is happening. Now, we are talking about imprisoning Zuma because he embezzled or because he didn't collaborate with the law and whatsoever.
Yes, contempt.
But there are times that we tamper justice, I mean, with mercy.
We weigh the consequence.
You weigh the consequence to see what is going to happen after what has happened has happened. Because we have everybody saw that if they imprison Zuma, this is what was going to happen. I mean, there are intelligence in South Africa who want South Africa. But because Zuma, when he was in office, let me tell you, there was the issue of gold mines. Zuma wanted to play Robert Mugabe. The gold mines were being owned by the whites. And because of that far cry, xenophobic attacks, economic independence that was refused, and the gold mines were all owned by the whites, he tried to bring in the blacks to take over some of those gold mines. It didn't even go well for the whites. And they have been nursing the plans against him up to now. Let me tell you, Zuma came out of office on a very, very hot seat. Yes. He had to at that particular time.
For peace to reign?
For peace to reign, and it wasn't his will, because people were behind him. And let me tell you what is happening to him today. It is something that has been connived, and they want to ruin him and to tell him that they are going to pay you back for what you did to us. And that was somebody I consider as somebody who loved his people. Yes. That was what you would call a Pan-Africanist. Those who like to know about South Africa and to study to know how a president was for the people, they should go to Zuma. Zuma, in the first place, was somebody who was very, very culturally inclined. And of course, this is somebody who wanted to promote the culture of South Africans. Go to South Africa, even the past, even Mandela didn't do that. And he did this to the detriment or to the dislike of the majority of the blacks or the white people who were there. And therefore, let us be very, very careful that this is not just about him embezzling. Who hasn't embezzled as a president? Do you want people to come back, let them open the private files of people for you to know that most of these presidents embezzled?
And he was in charge of covert operations in the period of apartheid. Post-apartheid.
That is it. And this is somebody who is supposed to be guarded. He is supposed to be guarded. And that is why, for a kind of a little mistake, they used to say there's always a trigger. Somebody will look, catch on something. When somebody is drowning, you will even hang with a snake. And this is what they are doing to Zuma. They just want to ruin him. Okay. But let South Africa be very, very careful. And let me tell you what is happening in the street. It is not just because Zuma has been jailed. It is the outcome of the failed economic independence of South Africa. It happened like that in Cameroon.
Because you see, people are more interested in looting than in
exactly. These people have taken the opportunity. They are opportunists that have now said, this is our time to gain out of this. We are going to use, as I said, it's a trigger. We are going to use this situation in order to enrich ourselves.
Okay.
That is what is happening.
Let's round up on this before we move to the other topic. Senior Apostle, you may want to do a round up as to this topic as far as this topic is concerned.
Yes, I will have to address two pertinent issues here. When we keep singing the song and the song continuously that the law, the law, the law, the law, the law, I wish to ask if that law is targeting some particular individuals. I want to say that the atrocities committed by the whites in South Africa are supposed to be brought to book. After every war and post-war period, individuals and criminals are brought to book and some of them are sentenced. We've seen the case of a man from Uganda. We've seen the case of DRC. We've seen the case of Rwanda. Which of the whites under the Clerk's government was arrested for the atrocities committed during the apartheid regime? Was there no law before, during, and apartheid?
I'll tell you that during the deliberation of apartheid, maybe a accord was reached that after these people should not be followed.
Stop guessing. Don't tell me.
No, I'm just playing the Davis advocate.
Don't tell me maybe. There was a governing system in South Africa, a running government, and a few persons began agitating for their own rights, which means there was a government in place. I am sure the first person that was supposed to have gone to prison was supposed to be Frederick de Klerk, the man who kicked up the apartheid regime in South Africa and annihilated most of the black persons. They were supposed to have also considered the fact that after Mandela took power, the bitterness of the Zulu, the Xhosa in South Africa, those are tribes in South Africa, were supposed to have been a point of revenge. That these guys did everything possible to calm them down and to keep them under control. That was supposed to have been something that they would have reasoned that the blacks sacrificed so much for retaliation not to take place, for peace to reign, and for another apartheid-like nature not to spring up in South Africa. Why would they go to the extent right now of catching a man like Zuma and restoring what some people have sacrificed so much? If a people like Mandela were to pay back the whites what was done during the South African regime in South Africa, the apartheid in South Africa, I am sure after Mandela took power, he would have done what a DME of Uganda did. I'm asking all the Asians to leave this country within 72 hours. Don't try to blacken your skin with shoe polish, because if you dare, you will know the other side of me. That was a statement that was supposed to have come from Mandela.
Mandela is a peace advocate.
There is a peace advocate.
Uniting both parties.
Thabo Mbeki came to power when they tried to intimidate him because they were trying to instill back the restoration of South Africans. He resigned. Because the white minority was still there to intimidate him in power, he resigned. When Zuma came, Zuma did not condone that nonsense. Zuma began underground dealing with the economic manipulation. It was Steve Biko Bantu at the age of 31 in a prison in Pretoria who said, apartheid is a friend and an enemy. If you accept him, he will welcome you. If you disagree with him, he will kill you. It's to tell you that for they to have released Mandela from prison, it means he accepted apartheid. Steve Biko Bantu was killed because he rejected apartheid and rejected the white domination in South Africa. This time around, we are talking about the crowd. When people begin, there's a difference when a nation gathers against a president. For the very first time in Africa, not like in Burkina Faso, when the crowd gathered against Blaise Compaoré, not like in Egypt, when they gathered against Hosni Mubarak, not like in Togo, when they gathered against Yademan and Foreign Asingbe, not like in other countries in Africa, where the crowd has always gathered against the president. This time around, the crowd gathered to defend a man, is to tell you what this man meant to the people. Zuma is not a deity, like Ndiwum said, the French African presidents who are demigods. When crowds always gather to kick them out, kick their ass out. Crowds gather in Cameroon, gather in other countries, in French African countries. They gather against Boubacar Keita in Mali, gather against Alassane Ouattara in Cote d'Ivoire, gather against Blaise Compaoré in Burkina Faso, gather against Hosni Mubarak, and they have not gathered against Kuma and Zuma. The crowd gathered to defend. I'm telling you, a president who came out of power, oh God. He came out of power, lived in the same country, and when an attempt was made on his life, the crowd gathered to defend him. You are talking about that kind of president. Please, President Ramaphosa, have a rethink on that decision. Because if just a mere sentence for 15 months is causing such casualty, the bush is still burning. Quench this flame before the entire South Africa catches fire.
Thank you very much, Apostle Ambe. Briefly, you have just 1 minute for these reactions. I'll go to the second topic, briefly.
Yes, Apostle Ambe may be right. Like he said, he does not like the word maybe because he does not deal with guessing. But I think I will focus on the lesson that other African countries should learn. That's my point. Let other African countries, especially failed states like Cameroon, Gabon, and others, They should learn to know that their leaders are not demigods. They should learn to know that the actions you are doing today, when you will be out of office, because we are praying that you people should have long life in Africa, so that even if you leave the office after 100 years, we shall bring you to book. We are not saying that we are happy over what is happening to Zuma, like Dr. Ndimancho said. Even if you have to tamper justice with mercy, at least justice has to be served first before you tamper that justice with mercy. So that's my point.
Okay. Before we end this particular topic, round up.
Okay, thank you for the audience once more. So, as I was saying, what I always look for is, as an advocate for peace, what we want is peace. It doesn't really matter whether somebody did whatsoever or whatever it is, but it is true that we have to follow the law. But we believe that the South African president should, at this moment of time, do everything possible to make sure that he grants general amnesty. It was even preferable for Jacob Zuma to be given a suspended sentence to make sure that maybe he remain at home and continue with some of the activities that he was doing to avoid problem. Because the consequences of what has just been done by the leaders in South Africa is really it's disastrous. We are very disappointed on what the president is doing. So we pray that these issues will really look into as fast as possible to make sure that peace returns in South Africa. If South Africa has once more be a model country in Africa here since after the issue of apartheid, but we are not. We are praying that we should not South Africa within themselves who were crying that the whites and the other people were like discriminating against them and all the rest. To the same South Africans should start now and people should be going around using this issue of justice as a means of setting political scores. I don't know if the president Cyril Ramaphosa is like setting a political score. Maybe some problem he has with Jacob Zuma, but he should know very well that he is the president and the president for the entire country. If he has a personal problem with Jacob Zuma, he should look for another ways of setting the problem and not with the use of justice to silence him.
Dr. Michael Ndimancho, no right to appeal. No, Zuma did not have the right to appeal was not given. The right for him to be listened to was not given. At the end of the day, he was just sentenced by the court.
Of course, how could he be given any time to explain himself when he's a polygamist? I mean, if he was a homosexual, he would have done that. You know, one of the particularity of Zuma is that Zuma had so many wives, and the world didn't want that. There are certain things we should look into this issue. There's much that the eye doesn't see. And let me tell you, you said Nelson Mandela was a peace crusader. Do you know why immediately when he came out from prison, he had to divorce Willie? He divorced Willie because while in prison he was formatted. I mean, they put in some kind of knowledge in his mind and a knowledge of forgiveness. I mean, they softened his heart about the kind of the political activism that he had. And when he came out of prison, Winnie was already more powerful in that kind of seeking for independence than Mandela, because the Mandela came out from prison not speaking the same language that he went.
Apostle said there were two people in the prison. One opted that they don't want appetite. Mandela went for
exactly. So you already see that the Mandela who went into prison came out as a different person, and therefore the person like Zuma, of course, is supposed to be regarded in South Africa as somebody who, I mean, is a pillar and is a monument. I mean, that people are supposed to regard. And when he's giving this kind of a disgraceful outing, I mean exit. I mean, we think that there is more that South Africa has to look into.
Okay, we take on a brief transition. When we come back, we take on the second topic, which we will be looking at Nigeria and Namdi Kanu arrest. As far as that is concerned, what lesson can Nigeria learn from the Cameroon saga? Arrested in Kenya, Mazi Namdi Kanu, as he is caught in Nigeria, was repatriated to Nigeria. He was arrested in Kenya and repatriated to Nigeria, where he will be, he will be judged based on his activity of the indigenous peoples of Biafra movement. And the movement has been outlawed by Nigeria's parliament as far as that is concerned. And we will be looking at the implication it will have as far as peace in Nigeria is concerned. Nigeria is limping and crawling as far as peace is concerned, with the Yoruba starting their own agitation and the Niger Biafra actively making their presence known that they will be returning back to base as far as that is concerned. And also within the massive kidnappings in Nigeria, where a day will hardly go by without news of kidnapping, with Baptist students kidnapped last 2 weeks, 121, and a mayor of Ejura was also kidnapped alongside 13 members of his family. And we will be looking at the Nigeria Accord with Cameroon. This and more. I'll start with you, Amadou. What lessons can we learn if you look at the fact that Cameroon, leaders of the Anglophone separatist movement were arrested in Cameroon and were arrested in Nigeria and sent to Cameroon, and it did not stop the separatist agitation. And now Nigeria, going the Cameroon way, arresting Namdi Kanu in Kenya and sending him back to Nigeria. Looking at a country that is struggling to consolidate peace and taking that move, is that not a dangerous gamble?
Thank you very much for giving me the audience once more. This issue, as a human rights defender, let me start by condemning this issue of arrest and the repatriation of Namdi Kanu to Nigeria. Because until Nigeria and Kenya are both signatories to the convention, United Nations Convention Against Torture, which have prohibited the arrest and repatriation of anyone when it is foreseen that the person might be tortured to the country where he's been taken to. This is the same thing that happened by the Nigerian government when they arrested the separatist leaders from Nigeria and repatriated them into Cameroon. And we know what they went through, which are really unacceptable. So the problem here is that secession is an ideology. If the Cameroon or some of these African countries think that arresting the leaders of secessionists or imprisoning them or killing people or doing all whatsoever they are doing will solve this problem of secession, we believe that it's unacceptable. Violence, we continue to say, will never in any way solve a problem. The best way to solve a problem is to have a dialogue with whosoever you think or this group of people and make sure that they sit down with the other party, the government call the other parties to sit down with them and let them seek for possible solution to come out of this quarrel. It is true that the problem in Nigeria and Cameroon, the separatist leaders that are fighting for a single goal, which is secession, and though with two different historical backgrounds. In the case of Cameroon here, we know very well that the Anglophones Cameroon here were, at least let me say, there were two different states. With two different states, the Anglophones were apart, and the French Cameroon was a different state as well. So we know what transpired until what we are having to problem today. The problem here today, even though the crisis started in 2016, but we know very well that that was just an immediate cause of the crisis. We have had since 1961, and even before then, we have known the history of Cameroon and what has been going through. But with regard to what's happening in Nigeria, the case of Nigeria, we know very well that it was just the issue of religious issue or ethnic problem in Nigeria, and the persecution of the Biafrans, which made them to become angry with the other part of the people, the other group of people in the country, and begin to start advocating for this issue of secession. But Biafra was never a different state on its own compared to the case of Anglophone Cameroon. So what we are praying for is always peace. We do know that peace is the only way out, and peace and justice. So we know very well that any solution cannot come out of violence, the use of force. That's why we have equally been advocating for the Cameroon government to do everything possible to make sure that they call the separatist leaders on the dialogue table, for them to seek an amicable or peaceful solution to the crisis we have been going through for the past years, because we have a lot of consequences of this crisis that are coming on daily basis. We have the arrests, we have the killings, we have the destruction of dwellings and all the rest. So we are praying for peace, and we continue to stand for peace, which is the only way out. Even if the Cameroon government, we know very well that no matter how long the Cameroon government will take, she will still come back to dialogue table with a separatist leader to seek solution to this problem, because that's the only way out of the crisis.
Thank you. I understand the there is similar. They have. You cannot separate somehow. I understand. Okay. We now come to you, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Ndiwum Emmanuel, when we look at this situation plaguing Nigeria and Kenya, a similar situation plagued Cameroon when we had the arrest of Siseko Ayo. Nigeria is gambling, a nation that is begging for peace and struggling to kill down the NSAS movement is still very, it's a melting volcano. What lessons can Nigeria learn from the Cameroon saga?
Tah Mai Javis, Africa is cursed. We need to be honest to ourselves. Until you believe that you are cursed and you go for cleansing, that is just when your problems will be solved. You see, the rule of gun in fighting secessionists and terrorist tendencies in Africa is no longer useful. You can kill a terrorist with a gun, but you cannot kill terrorism with a gun. You can kill a secessionist with a gun, but you cannot kill the idea of secession from his mind. Is it not really time that we ask God with one voice and collectively in Africa, how come Africa is the second largest continent in the world, and they are only large in terms of surface area, but their brains are not large enough to solve their problems in the real way? Who taught Africa that guns were a solution to every problem? And this comes back to the system of governance we have in Africa. Our leading class in Africa believes in gun more than the voice. Our leading class in Africa believe that when you use the gun, when you are a dictator, you go into the history more than the person who broke us for peace with the word of the mouth. I want to tell you without mixing words that Nigeria has once more demonstrated failure in the domain of governance. Nigeria is speaking to us that some of us were almost using Nigeria at one point as a model, as a reference. Nigeria is telling us that, look, you people were making a mistake. Here we are. We are a failed state like any other failed state in Africa.
No, but Nigeria still have the President Buhari, still have the legitimacy, still have control over the nation. When you say a failed state,
you are a journalist. I don't need to come here and teach you your job. And if you were a journalist, you need to know for sure how many times they have protested against Buhari. How many times?
But it's constitutional. It's a constitutional right to protest. That doesn't equate it a failed state.
How many times they have declared that Buhari was missing in power? That tells you that he is there because he's using the state apparatus, not because the Nigerians want him to be there. Now, when you talk about Nigeria, Cameroon, I've forgotten the word I used. You see,
now I was saying that in Nigeria not learning from the Cameroon saga, where the arrest of Siseko Ayokabe did not cool down.
If Cameroon cannot learn from Nigeria, how do you expect Nigeria to learn from Cameroon? Bigger cultures absorb smaller cultures, and Cameroon is a smaller culture when you compare it to Nigeria. So Nigeria cannot be learning from Cameroon. We would have expected Cameroon to be learning from Nigeria, and unfortunately it seems to be going the other way around, because when Nigeria collaborated with Cameroon, and of course we know that due procedures are not always taken, because we cannot for sure say so that the procedure that was taken for Namdi to be taken from Kenya to Nigeria. We cannot for sure say the legal and official procedure that was taken for Sisiko Ayuk-Tabe and his co to be deported to Yaoundé. And since then, we have discovered that immediately these people are deported, the crisis takes a different shape. It is no longer, don't be surprised that in the days ahead, don't be surprised that in the days ahead, Nigeria starts boiling more than what it is boiling now. So I'm just saying, Javis, that dialogue should be the way out. Guns cannot kill terrorism.
Okay.
But guns can only kill terrorists. And those terrorists can be converted.
Are you saying that what is happening is terrorism? If you are saying guns cannot kill
those who are in Yaoundé, they attack terrorists.
Okay.
Those Kanu is a terrorist. He has been tagged a terrorist. You can only kill a terrorist with a gun, but you cannot kill terrorism with a gun.
I don't know. We've just been joined by Ignatius. Ignatius is following the debate. Before getting to Apostle and Dr. Michael Ndimancho, let me come to you. First of all, we look at this situation where Namdi Kanu is deported to Nigeria without an extradition treaty, is it not a sign that Africa is not, respecting the basic concept of human rights, and also Africa is not to be trusted when it comes to international conventions and policies?
Good afternoon, Javis. Good afternoon, co-panelists, and I also send greetings to the management of My Media Prime. Good afternoon once more. From your question, I would like to use this statement before I continue to answer your question. We have to understand that the people who are called rebels today were, first of all, good people before. They were good people, very intelligent people before taking the position they are facing today. I have a fear that Africa is going to, there is a wave of confusion that's already going through Africa, because when we begin to see South Africa, which we're considering a role model, is already going into confusion. And then one more of France, with what we say, Francophone Africa, because those are countries that are noted to be the chaos is always seen in most of those countries because of the system of government. Now, when you talk about Nigeria, Nigeria is not a surprise to me. But there's something that I'm doubting, whether at the level of the International Court of Justice, is there any punishment that is supposed to be applied on a country that arrests somebody who is on asylum and is sent back, like it happened to Cameroonians, and what Nigeria is doing? Because Nigeria is fond of that. If I want to talk about this one, this is the third time Nigeria is involved in situations like that. Remember that Nigeria called, when there was a war in Liberia, it is Nigerian, that the Nigerian president who called for Charles Taylor, I think it was Charles Taylor, that they are going to grant him asylum in Nigeria. You deceive somebody to come to your country, and then
he was handed over to ICC.
You take him and hand him to the International Court of Justice. And then it is the same Nigeria that arrested Cameroonians who were in Nigeria and sent to Cameroon. And now they have succeeded to contaminate Kenya to practice the very thing. So that's where I begin to doubt whether is there any law that is supposed to guide situations like this, because it is giving us a danger. Yeah, so you said whether is there anything to be learned. Nigeria has been seeing what is happening in Cameroon. They themselves know that since they did arrested the leaders, yes, and sent to Cameroon, there has not been there is no peace since that day. So, but what I want to continue to say is that we should learn to answer somebody, respond to a question in the right time. Because remember, I first of all started to say that, trying to say that rebels today were good people. We are in jungle groups in the quarter. If you are that kind of person who is in a group who always like to strike on a point that you see it not clear, if that leader, the leader of that group, is not a good leader, you find yourself as a terrorist in a group, like somebody who does not want to be a piece of that group. What we are saying is resembles situations like that.
Dr. Michael Ndimancho, arrested without an extradition treaty, nicodemously sent to Nigeria, announced his presence in Nigeria, said he was beaten by Kenyan police, rights violated. Charles Taylor was in Nigeria, handed to ICC. Is it Nigeria not telling the world that don't trust us when it comes to international convention and policies?
Well, Nigeria sometimes plays Pontius Pilate in their dealings. But then, before coming to that, Javis, let me say this. You know that one man's terrorist is another man's liberation activist. Let people know that. One man's terrorist is another man's liberation activist. Kwame Nkrumah was one time a terrorist. And Jomo Kenyatta was one time a terrorist. And Nelson Mandela was one time a terrorist. Robert Mugabe was one time a terrorist. Even our Salva Kiir here in Southern Sudan was one time a terrorist. But what did they become? They became presidents and liberators at the end. So we should be very, very careful about how we handle issues of what we call terrorism. Now, Nigeria, Nigeria is not supposed to give the world an example, especially a person like Buhari. If Buhari wanted to give the world a good example, he would have actually brought the head of the Boko Haram terrorists,
Abubakar
Shekau. He would have brought the head and shoot to the world that he is truly a fighter of terrorism.
Because now they are doubting whether he's dead or not.
Exactly. Now the issue is, you remember that when Buhari came up in 2015, one of the major concern, and of course the world was happy, many people, was that they wanted Buhari to fight Boko Haram. Because you realize that
on insecurity in Nigeria.
And insecurity in Nigeria. People were so confident.
The #1 campaign promise.
Yeah, people, that was his first campaign promise in Nigeria when he came up. That he is going to fight insecurity and that he's going to fight the Boko Haram terrorism. Now, when he came up, I don't know whether the bush was too bushy or the forest was too thick. He, instead of getting to the bush and to the forest to get the terrorism that he was supposed to get, he went internally and caught those who were living like citizens. The Naira 10 that he caught and sent back to Cameroon, where most of them are Nigerian citizens. They have taken the nationalism. So he caught his own citizens and sent to Cameroon. That was the easiest terrorist that you could get, at least to tell the world that this is the promise I gave you during my campaign trail. I'm giving you this promise, I'm fulfilling this promise. But instead of chasing lions in the bushes, this is he came chasing the rat in his own home and under his bed, and that is what he did. And you see, this issue of Kanu, let me be very careful. You know, the north and the south in Nigeria have always had a problem. When the president from the south, there is a problem with the north. When the president from the north, there's a problem with the south. And I think that he's supposed to handle this, knowing the problem very well, he's supposed to handle this problem with a lot of care. It is clear that when it comes to even to election, to compete in an election, the south will never compare with the north. Because from studies, from communication studies, we have realized that the north, even though they are not educated, they are more informed than the south. And you know why? Because the northerners are railers and they rail cattle. And one of the fundamental characteristics of that is that they always move with a radio set. So they listen more to information in the bushes than those in the south who sit and who think that they are in town. Exactly. So when it gets to campaign, they are much more informed, even though in the bushes, than those who are in town. So I want to let Buhari understand his country, the setting very well to understand how to handle issues. He's creating a much more bigger problem for Nigeria than he is solving it. Let me tell you, for those who call them terrorists, when you kill one terrorist, you produce two more. That is what happens to terrorism. When you kill one whom you think that is a strong man, as he has arrested this one, two more will come up to replace this one that he has arrested. Okay. And therefore, he should be very careful. This thing needs tact and it needs a lot of negotiations.
Okay. Apostle Ambe Valentine. Apostle, when we look at the fallout from the Cameroon saga when they were repatriated, when the Naira 10 were sent to Cameroon, and we look at now the current situation in Nigeria, a nation that's begging for stability and begging for peace, and one of the the agitators of the Biafra movement was arrested illegally in Kenya, sent to Nigeria. Are we not moving back to the 1967 Biafra revolution, which we are seeing possibly within this time from a different perspective?
Of course, if you say so, it's 100% correct, because if you look at it critically, it's still the same agitation within the country Nigeria, the north against the south, the north against the east. That is the challenge we have in Nigeria right now. Before I will get into answering your question, the reason why Nigerians voted Buhari was because they said there was so much insecurity and the currency of Nigeria had dropped so low during the regime of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Muhammadu Buhari came to power, we had only Boko Haram as a challenge. Buhari has come fan aglow the insecurity problem. We have NSAS in Nigeria. SARS was created by Buhari. That brought serious insecurity in the country. There is still Boko Haram alive and well. Most of the military soldiers in military forces of Nigeria were killed in Jigawa recently, and some were killed in Maiduguri, and there is some constant shooting around places like Sokoto and Borno, which is the work of the Boko Haram. The Eastern Security Network, which is also an arm of security under the Biafra, the IPOP, is also created. The Yoruba nation also is rising up. You discover that we have more insecurity.
2 weeks ago, they had a public protest.
Right now in Nigeria, more than what was even the regime of Jonathan. So Nigerians, what you bargain for, you collect. Arresting Namdi Kanu now, which is the subject of the day, is an error of monumental proportion. Why do I say so? I say so because Biafra did not start with Namdi Kanu. Getting to the root of Biafra is an age-long ideology. And Biafra did not thrive at first because the amount of resources that the Igbos had in those days cannot be compared to what they have achieved right now. To queer down Biafra right now is going to be very, very difficult, because the days of Ojukwu, he depended on the military forces that he took and the military equipment he took from the government, because he was like a breakaway. And then Colonel Effiong of the South also break away the equipment. They began fighting against the state. They gave an embargo against them concerning the import of protein food, which was what contributed to the collapse of the Biafra, because most of them died of malnutrition. Because of this, the Biafra surrendered. That person called Ojukwu died. I don't know if Effiong is still alive. One of the generals who was in the army within that period gave a testimonial recently how they were maltreated in Nigeria. That idea called Biafra is still very much alive. Arresting Namdi Kanu, a man who was able to produce 10,000 forces under Eastern Security Network, he must have injected and imbibed into their system the Biafra thing. When Namdi Kanu was allegedly arrested, they said almost 10,000 persons from the Biafra land walked into the streets.
Yes,
it is to tell you that from kindergarten to the highest institution, everybody is injected with the philosophy, ideology, and the mentality of Biafra. So catching Namdi Kanu, he has duplicated himself in so many people from the East. You have 5 different states that believe in the Biafra. You have the Ebonyi state, whose capital is Abakaliki. You have the Imo state, whose capital is Owerri. We have Enugu state, capital is Enugu. We have Anambra state, capital is Onitsha. And then we have Abia state, whose capital is Aba. These 5 major states are injected. Coming down to the south, you have Bayelsa state. You have Cross River state. You have River state. You have Akwa Ibom state. These are 9 consecutive states who believe in the ideology of Biafra. Going to stop these millions of persons who have been injected with the virus called Biafra. Biafra is more of a virus now than coronavirus. Biafra is stronger than HIV/AIDS. The people are sick of Biafra, not malaria. And it's a sickness they have refused to be cured from it. Trying to catch a single branch of a tree that has roots everywhere, you are just trimming the branch for the thing to grow very well. There are many neutral Nigerians who don't believe in Biafra. Arresting Namdi Kanu, they have been born into Biafra, just like the Anglophone crisis. Many people were not engaged into the war until guns touched their family members. Some people became Anglophone ambassadors the day Wazizi died, not the day the revolution started. So catching Namdi Kanu, you have given birth to other Biafrans, and they are Biafrans in the loins, because their mothers are thinking Biafra, and it runs into the subconsciousness of the children. A generation of Biafra is still to be born.
Okay.
So catching Namdi Kanu is futile, energy wasted.
No work done.
No work done. No work done.
Let me come back to you, Ndiwum Emmanuel. Let's look at the scenario of the relationship between Cameroon and Nigeria, the accord that was just recently signed as far as fighting insurgency is concerned. Is it not a possibility? Is the arrest of Namdi Kanu in Kenya not telling Cameroonians, or not telling secession movement or those who call it activists that there's a possibility that you cannot be arrested in Kenya after the Cameroon-Nigeria accord? looking at the fact that Kenya sent Namdi Kanu, so is it not a sign that, hey, if you land in Kenya or any other country that has a strong relationship with Nigeria, you'll be arrested?
Tah Mai Javis, do you think that Ayabacho, who is in Norway, Tapang Ivo, who is in US, Mark Barretta and the rest, do not know that they can be arrested one day and extradited to Cameroon? They know. They know. Let me tell you, like Apostle was saying, it's an ideology. And kill one of them. Before killing one of them, they would have successfully groomed about 20. Then multiply, count the number of those activists that we have. Multiply behind each of them 20 successors. And then you would have successfully gotten the number of the activists that are after them before their lay supporters. It is not like they don't know that they can be here. Take them to Jupiter, where they know that they will be arrested and sent to Nigeria or Cameroon. The ideology in them can never be killed with a gun. But if you can subdue that ideology with another stronger and bigger productive ideology by the means of dialogue, that idea would have been killed in them. I want to tell you that give a human being peace, equality, opportunities, they will never sit and start telling you that the boundary was here, the boundary was there. They start thinking about boundary demarcation when the other part of the nation starts swallowing them, like the bigger fish swallowing the smaller fishes. And then that is only when they are pushed to frustration. And you know that all these things, bad governance gives birth to frustration. And when there is frustration, they become do or die living citizens. When they are picking up the idea of secession, when they are picking up the idea of terrorism, they are not picking it today to be dropped tomorrow. They are picking it because they have failed frustration, and frustration has become their best friend. And when frustration becomes your best friend, any other thing that you want to do, you are doing it without looking back. So, to answer you squarely, they are not afraid that they will be extradited.
Okay.
They are not afraid. They want to be killed. They want to be extradited, and they want that their ideology should continue living, because they have their followers that they have successfully instilled this ideology into them. Okay. Like Apostle said a while ago, the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon, some people joined it only the day Sam Sawyer was beheaded. Some people joined it only the day Mami Api was burned and roasted like a chicken in her house.
It's the same thing that some people joined the fight against the Ambazonia movement because their military, their loved ones were killed by Ambe, and their loved ones were kidnapped by Ambe. The hands of their loved ones.
Yes, you are right.
Ambe. So it's a two-way flow.
It's a two-way traffic. But then, which other side is carrying the popularity? The side that was formerly more frustrated. Okay. And when you are frustrated, you go into things that you don't even have time again to regret.
Okay.
So what are we saying here? Bad governance in Africa, frustration in Africa, humiliation in Africa has produced these people we call terrorists today.
Thank you, Ndiwum. Ignatius, this is a conflict that has been ongoing for some time. In 1967, after the Nigerian independence, in 1967 years, there was an acrimonious civil war that witnessed. There was a spill out from the Biafra state to Cameroon, and now we are witnessing a similar situation in the northwest and the southwest region, the Anglophone region, call it West Cameroon or Ambazonia, depending on your political affiliation. We are witnessing a fallout now. Nigeria, we have refugees in Nigeria, and the Nigeria Accord between Cameroon and Nigeria will benefit, because we have seen that Cameroon has signed an accord with Nigeria. That was after Namdi Kanu was arrested in Kenya. Is it not a sign that Cameroon government is saying, hey, We are informed that some are coming to Kenya. Maybe you can use your connection with Kenya and get them extradited.
Yes. I would like to say that we should, who benefits? The beneficial, we only know the beneficial if the accord is successful. I would like to say that if the Biafra war is coming now, this is the second time it is coming up. You see, the two crises are they resemble, even the Anglophone crisis. If you look at the time, the Anglophone crisis has been in the mind of Anglophones, and even though in the past it was not as it is today, but it comes up today, it means that it was poorly managed, and it's the same thing I'm trying to see with Nigeria. Before coming to your question, who benefits, I would like us to understand that we should learn. If you look at these two situations, the length of time the crisis have taken place, the war, I can call it war, we should learn that it is advisable to that is treating the cause of an illness and then treating the illness are two different things, which means that an illness may be caused by a virus. I believe that if you are treating the illness and the virus remains alive, which means that you will treat it, the virus will still cause it, and you will come to treat it, and it continues. But killing the virus means you have terminated the illness once and for all. I'm trying to say that these two states, Cameroon, I thought that Nigeria will learn from Cameroon, but they are trying to fall into the same mistake that Cameroon has been making. As from now, we should learn to tackle a problem from the cause. I believe that if the cause of these two situations was considered important, the thing won't have resurfaced again. Okay, you say who benefit from
between Cameroon and Nigeria, because Cameroon is more stable than Nigeria. I see Cameroon
looking for help. Remember that our own crisis, most of our authorities, most of Cameroonians, not even our authorities, we know that we have been saying on panels like this that Cameroon is a sovereign state, and we have to solve our own issues ourselves. Our problems should be solved internally. If I see Cameroon already going into accord with Nigeria, according to me, I'm having a feeling that it is a sign of surrendering to the crisis, which going to Nigeria is not more national, it is already at the international level. We mean that Cameroon is already Cameroon is already looking for an advantage on that corner, but we cannot confirm it now because it is at the end when if the crisis is solved, all of us we have to celebrate, because right now if the problem is that I would not hesitate to tell you that all of us were suffering from the crisis. So if this accord bring a solution, you and I will be free to go to our villages. Our children will go to school at the level of the villages.
Dr. Michael Ndimancho, the accord between Nigeria and Cameroon, some people have described it as a man in theater who is in theater struggling to give food to someone who is about to be discharged from the hospital. That Nigeria, with the numerous problems, is struggling to see Cameroon move away from secessionist movement. Now, who benefits from this?
All of them benefit. I think all of them benefit. You know, before the Naira 10 were sent back to Cameroon, Nigerian Buhari sent
a sealed letter.
A sealed letter. And I enjoyed that interview of that consular that day, because he actually spoke with his tongue wrapped. And those who understand what I mean know, because the journalist tried to ask him some kind of tricky question, and he attempted answering the way you could answer. And from the look of things, I knew that something funny was happening. Now, just last week, Cameroon sent an envoy to Nigeria. Mr. Mbayu Felix he carried the message of the head of states to Buhari, and we are like asking ourselves, who in Cameroon is also a Boko Haram or a secessionist that they want to send to Nigeria? So we have been asking ourselves questions. But then,
maybe they want to lobby Nigeria from the other countries to use their connection with other countries.
Since they know that Cameroon is in friendly country with other countries, they can pass through Cameroon to get. I mean, everything is possible in diplomacy. Apart from that, I think that Nigeria and Cameroon, they have every right and every reason to collaborate. I mean, these are two countries. Apart from what happened in 1994, when Cameroon won Nigeria an International Court of Justice regarding the Bakassi affair, which of course some states in Nigeria are still thinking that it is not supposed to, Bakassi is not Cameroon. But I think in the fight of Boko Haram, Cameroon had to come in. Cameroon really had to come in to assist Nigeria, because it appeared as if at one moment Cameroon territory was harboring the Boko Haram. And you know, the payback, I mean, one of the things that Buhari wanted to please Cameroon with was the issue of extraditing the Naira 10. And that was to please Cameroon that they are collaborating. And with that, Cameroon has been flattered, you know, greatly flattered. Even though that has created a lot of problems, more problems for Cameroon than actually one could imagine. Because each day, everybody, be it Francophone, Anglophone, everybody is crying that those people be released. But, I mean, on another note, I'm asking myself how this is going to help Nigeria. Nigeria is said to be the second highest power, biggest power in Africa. After South Africa, I'm sure they think
no, Nigeria is now the first. For now, is the first.
Is the first, right?
Yes.
I mean, and sometimes I ask myself, is it because I don't know what instruments after it's used, the economic and what sort of instruments used? Because when you look at the problems that are plaguing Nigeria, I watch. I was very keen during the campaigns, the last campaign in Nigeria. I mean, the kind of, we know that's the time that the politicians, they lay bare the kind of the problems, the internal problems of a country, and you realize that even Nigeria is not sure of electricity. I mean, for 24 hours. And when you see a country like this, I mean, because this is one of the basic necessity that a country should have. If Nigeria cannot be sure, because there's one of the political leader who is in charge of importing, is in charge of importing generators in Nigeria. So I think. Voila. So thanks, Apostle. I think that Nigeria has much more bigger problems than, I mean, what they are creating for themselves now.
Apostle Ambe Valentine, like I asked Dr. Ndimancho, Cameroon's people are looking at the Nigeria Accord with Cameroon like someone who is in a theater struggling to give food to somebody who is about to be discharged from the hospital. That Nigeria in itself has numerous problems with the Boko Haram, with the Yorubas, with the Niger Delta, with the insecurity, high rate of kidnappings, with increasing call for Muhammad Buhari to step down, with the NSAS movement, and Cameroon only plagued with the conflict between the Northwest and Southwest, and small COVID gate, which is not much of an issue now as we hear about. That who should need more help?
Between Cameroon and Nigeria, who should need more help? It's like asking the patient to treat the doctor. Yes, the patient is here to treat the doctor this time around, because Cameroon seems to be better, as per se, compared to Nigeria for now. Buhari, in the first place, has not been able to manage what is within his country. He came and created what we call NSAS. The SARS were more of criminals and security agents. Got Nigerians tormented, beaten, tortured. People who were driving in the streets saw SARS and were escaping. How can the government come to create armed robbers in the name of police people? Because of that, it caused a lot of confusion in Nigeria. Youths went out into the streets and some were even killed. That is the work of a president. If not because of some interventions, any SARS would have cost Nigeria what Boko Haram did not cost, what Niger Delta did not cost, what Eastern Security Network did not cost, what even the Yoruba nation that is talking right now did not cost. And NSAS was created by the president himself. He came and met an overloaded insecurity problem. He created another insecurity and added to what was on ground, thereby causing the entire nation to go in flames. Now, for Cameroon signing an accord with Nigeria to protect, I'm wondering if the Nigeria forces or any of the so-called terrorists are in Cameroon. I am sure it benefits Cameroon more, because Cameroon is trying to take the circumstance to block where separatists get their arms. They pass from Nigeria to come to Cameroon. Some of them escape to go and take Jabu or Juju from Nigeria. I'm sure it's going to help more Cameroon than Nigeria, because none of the Nigerian forces are camping in Cameroon. They don't have a camp in Cameroon, they don't have a base in Cameroon. But we know of Ambas who have been trained in Nigeria, they have camps in Nigeria.
Maybe intelligence report is indicating that with the arrest of Namdi Kanu, there's a possibility where an insurgency may occur and some may come to Cameroon, so they are acting proactively.
Nigeria has enough land surface and witch doctors. Those are the two things that take the Cameroonians out. Cameroonians going to look for medicine, they have it there. Cameroonians going to come as refugees. Nigeria has enough of those spaces that are not even exploited. The Niger Delta live in an island, they have boats. So what are they coming to do in Cameroon? Is in Bakassi Peninsula, they come and stay in the swampy area there. We don't have any place here to cover them, so there is no need beating around the bush. If anything is signed as an accord in that respect, then Cameroon is the beneficiary, not Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Apostle Ambe, for coming. It's been a privilege to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Javis. It's always a joy to be here to educate Africans as well as Cameroonians, my people, my country.
Thank you, Dr. Michael Ndimancho. It's been a privilege to have you.
Thanks so much, Javis. I mean, it's the first time I'm participating on 90
Minutes in Africa.
I mean, it's quite an interesting debate. I think I would like to come again sometime in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And of course, Mr. Ignatius, it's been a privilege to have you.
Thank you very much. I know that Africa is our continent, even though there are many issues that are not going right. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yes,
Emmanuel.
it's always a pleasure to talk to Africans and Cameroon in particular. And I leave African leaders with this message today. You people should learn to be proactive. Stop always pampering the causes to come back later to fight the consequences.
Of course, thank you for coming, Amadou. It's been a privilege to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Javis, for giving me this opportunity. I want to continue to pray for peace everywhere in Africa, because peace is the only way out. If not that way, if we have peace, we'll have everything. Every other thing can only come after we have peace. Because without peace, nothing will go well.
Thank you very much, all those of you who took out time to watch 90 Minutes in Africa. It is a program that comes to you live every Saturday at exactly 1 p.m. I've been Tah Mai Javis, sitting in for Bull Elvis, who will soon be back to continue the program. I leave you with this as usual. No matter the matter, what matter is your matter. No matter the matter, what matter is your matter. And what should matter for you is that we're Ubuntu. I am who I am because you are who you are. Thanks for watching and goodbye from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, Feng Gudong, Mbange.